Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Wow. Today is, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. The title today is The Path Made Clear. And as Memorial Day, we commemorate, typically, we take some time to commemorate those who have sacrificed their lives in the wars that we have fought. I want to speak to that in just a little bit of context in just a moment. But first, talk about the overall title today, The Path Made Clear. It's the final sermon in the series, Listening to Your Heart, which has been our theme all month long. You know, over the course of our lives, we come to crossroads, to forks in the path, to choice points of how to proceed. And it can be challenging to know which path to follow. Have you ever been in that situation? Do I go here? Do I go there? What do I do? We can become overwhelmed with the options and with the face of uncertainty. And so today we're seeking to make clear the path. That's what our message, our title, and our theme is all about. And let's begin here with this understanding. Wherever we are in the current moment is the result of the path that we have been taking, right? Wherever we are, wherever you are, is the result of the path that you have been taking up until now. So the question becomes, do I want to take a new path? Do I want to go in a new direction? Or am I happy with the path? Or are there things about the path that are unclear? Or are there things about the path that I would like to have clarified in my awareness, right? Wherever we are, that's the first principle for what we're going to be talking about today, making the path clear. Wherever we are is the result of the path that we have been taking. So this weekend, we honor the sacrifices of those who've lost their lives in battle to defend our nation, which is the result of the collective walk that we've made over the generations down the path of war. And I'm always reminded, and I have many people in my family history, from my grandfather all the way back to the Civil War, who have fought and who have served various armed forces of the United States and have lost their lives in many cases. And so I'm always reminded from a spiritual perspective that one of the deepest things we can do is to honor those who have served by seeking to walk down a different path, right? Wherever we are is the result of the path that we've been walking. It's right and good and honorable to recognize and to honor those who have lost their lives because we have chosen to walk down a certain path, a path called war. We can further honor them by choosing another path, by helping create a world that works for everyone. And I'm also reminded today that it would be fitting for us to take a moment, to take a breath, and remember the lives lost during this particular season that we're in to COVID-19 virus, as the death toll nears 100,000. And I can't help but think that how many of these deaths are, in fact, sacrificial deaths to an ideological war that we are currently in. It may not be popular for me to say that, and I may not know exactly what that number is, but it occurs to me that where we are is the result of the path that we've been walking down. You know, we are spiritual beings on a human journey. And whether we know it or not, there is an evolution of spirit that is happening through us at all times. At the human level, as we grow, it looks like this. It looks like the path of acquisition, right? The acquiring of things and stuff, books, computers, phones, right? The acquiring of things and stuff to make our life comfortable, easy, entertaining, graceful, connected, whatever we choose, right? And there's nothing wrong with this path, right? We've always sought ways to improve our conditions and to make life comfortable, more grace-filled, more easy, more convenient. However, if this is the only thing that we're doing, if this is the only path we're walking, then it can leave us feeling very empty inside of a very full house. So we seek something more than the mere acquisition of things and stuff. Because in fact, we are not beings of acquisition, we are beings of revelation. We are beings of expression, right? We're not here to acquire as much as we are here to express. But we've been hypnotized into a consumer-based society, a consumer-based economy that says take, 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 consume, consume, consume. And sometimes we forget that innate in our spiritual DNA is the call to give, the call to serve, the call to express, the call to create, the call to love, right? To create art and music and beauty through all that we are, right? So we're here to reveal something. We're here to release and to let go of an inner splendor that is the very vibration of our life, right? Holmes says it this way, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, Religious Science, and Science of Mind Teaching. There is a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. All human endeavor is an attempt to get back to first principle, to find such an inward wholeness that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty disappear. There is a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. And all human endeavor is an attempt to get back to first principle, to find such an inward wholeness that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty disappear. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's the path that we want to be on. That's the path we want to make clear and figure out what is ours to do as we walk that path. And it's easier when all of our base needs are met, right? It's easier when we've got food and shelter and water and our basic comforts are met. But meeting our base needs is not the end game, right? We're here to do something more than that. And so when all of our base needs are met, then we can open ourselves up to the evolution and the revelation of our path, otherwise known as our spiritual journey. And by the way, that base need desire never goes away, right? Spiritual people still like a good deal. Talk to me, somebody, right? Spiritual people still like a good sale. They still want to make the most of their money, or you know, paint the house, or build that addition, or do that thing for their comfort. Right? Spirituality and materialism are not opposed to each other, but they do need to be in concert with each other in a way that gives life to justice and to peace and to wholeness on the planet. That's the key. And we'll talk more about that as we go this morning. And so when we open up to our evolution, to the revelation nature of our path, otherwise known as our spiritual journey, then what happens is in the spiritual journey, we don't ask, what can I get? The question is no longer a question of acquisition. It becomes a question of, how can I serve? What must I become? Who am I being in this moment, right? The questions that Jennifer Earle's going to address in that Monday night class. I really hope you sign up for that. She's going to break all this down and give you a template and a tool, right? That's very useful and practical. So how can I express the wholeness that is seeking to have its way as me? And so the shift becomes, the holy shift is from what is the life that I want to what is the life that wants me? Oh, come on, take that in for a minute. Where's the bell? I have to rearrange things on my desk here this morning, right? The shift, the holy shift, is from what is the life that I want to what is the life that wants me. Yeah, you feel that? We start out on the spiritual quest, it suddenly becomes, there's a life that wants me. There's a life of wholeness. There's a life of beauty. There's a life of love. There's a life of divine right action. There's a life of prosperity. There's a life of the divine, which is all of those things and more. And it wants me. It wants me to be its outlet. It wants me to be its place of fulfillment. It wants me to be its expression. Yeah. How do I make that path clear? How do I open myself up so that the manifestation of that is what's flowing through me on a daily basis? And if we begin to ask that question, it leads us to being on a spiritual quest, like you are now. You're in a receptive position, you're listening, you're taking in, you're participating in something bigger than you are in a spiritual community. You're feeding information in your heart and your mind for the spiritual quest, for the unfoldment of your being, right? Tell people that when they say, what were you doing Sunday morning? Feeding the unfoldment of my being. And here, a new path begins to open up on the spiritual path, a path that leads to a different kind of fulfillment than the material world. It leads to answering and to feeding a different and a deeper hunger, the hunger of our soul to know itself in the midst in the cosmos, to have a cosmological understanding of who we are in the grand scheme of things. You feel what I'm saying? But here's the thing. The starting point for that quest is not a neutral place. Our starting place is usually some kind of wound. It's some kind of false belief. It's some kind of social conditioning. It's whatever we have been walking with, because where we are is the result of the path that we've been walking, right? That's the principle we started with. And so our starting place is the sum total of whatever it is that we've been walking with up until now. And so in that path, there has been a whole series of false beliefs that we've adopted, social conditioning, us and them, sense of separation, et cetera, et cetera. And so our starting place is all of that we have to exercise and work through. In other words, let me see if I can break it down to you this way. In other words, we all arrive at the place of spiritual quest with something to work out, right? If we were in physical space together and this was pre-COVID-19, pre-corona preaching, I would say, touch your neighbor and say, work it out. Right? We all arrive at this place with something to work out. So text your neighbor. Text 3 people right now and say, work it out. Work it out. Work it out. Right? In other words, get this. We are called to heal the wounding and the false beliefs and the conditionings that have led up to this moment. We're called to heal all of that so that we can reveal the wholeness that we are, so that we might be a fit instrument to hear Spirit's call without the filters of our wounding. Oh, the universe is saying to you, heal your stuff so that you can hear the sound of your wholeness without the distraction of the filter of your wounding. Heal your stuff so that you can hear the sound of your wholeness without the distracting filter of your wounding. You following me? Yes? We're here. We're called to heal so that we can reveal without the distracting filter of our woundology. There's an old story of a man who's on a spiritual quest. Man, woman, doesn't matter who it is, but an individual who's on a spiritual quest, right? And he goes on this quest, and he's been told that if he goes to this particular place, this holy mountain, and he gets a guide and a Sherpa and brings an alms or an offering, he can hike up to a particular place, and there'll be a guru there that lives inside of a cave. And if he sits and waits his turn, the guru will come out, and he can ask any question, and the guru will tell him the answer to his question. So he goes. And he gets the money, and he gets the guide, and he gets the food and everything packed, and he travels up the mountain, and he waits in line, and he waits for his moment to sit in meditation. And one day the guru comes out, and he says, "What's your question?" And the man and the individual on the quest, the spiritual seeker, says, "I want to know who I am." And the guru says, I cannot answer that question, but there is one who can. You must go higher up the mountain. There is another guru who is more advanced than I am. That one will know the answer to your question. So he picks up his stuff and he gets back on the Sherpa and gets the guide, and he goes up further up the mountain. Waits in line, sits and meditates. The next guru comes out. He says, what's your question? And the seeker says, I want to know who I am. And the guru shakes his head. I cannot help you with that question. But the next guru up the mountain will know the answer to your question. You must go there. Surely this guru is at the top of the mountain and will know. So what choice does he have at this point? He gets all of his things and he gets back with the guide and he goes further up and he waits in line and he sits in meditation and he pays his alms, his offering, and the guru comes out. And the guru says, what's your question? He says, I want to know who I am. And the guru says, who's asking? Who's asking? There's something within you that knows. There's an inner witness. There's an inner guide. There's an inner beingness that is the one that asks, that is the one that can see and observe us asking all of the questions about life. Where should I go? Should I do this? Should I do that? What's the next direction of my life? What am I here to express or to give, or et cetera, et cetera? Who's asking the question? Whatever question it is that you have on your heart today, who's asking it? And who's observing you ask it? That is the place of the spiritual wisdom, the inner guide, the divine presence. We want to be there. And so there's a great awakening that is happening in the planet. I think everybody can feel and sense that right now, this time that we are living in, and this path that is we are all on, seeking to unfold in. Andrew Harvey, in a wonderful book called The Direct Path, says this. He says, what is attempting to be born, I believe, through the agony, the terror, and of this extremely dangerous, but also extremely creative and fertile period, is a new humanity. One that is in direct, unmediated contact with the divine, free of divisiveness, free of body hatred, free of the bias towards transcendence that disfigures all of the inherited patriarchal religions, one that is so able to inhabit time, inhabit the body, and inhabit the earth with an ecstatic consciousness and a passionate, radical sense of responsibility towards all living things. My friends, that is the path that you and I are on. The path through crisis, the path through this season is a path of awakening to a new humanity, one that is free of divisiveness, free of body hatred, free of the bias towards transcendence that disfigures all inherent patriarchal religions, one that is so able to inhabit time and the body and the earth with an ecstatic consciousness and a passionate, radical sense of responsibility towards all living things. And so there are a couple of options we have on the path. One of the paths we can take is radical, and one is gentle. One is swift, and one is slow cooking, like a marinade. One takes courage, and the other takes willingness. Which one do you want to hear about? I'll pretend that you said both. The one that is radical and swift and requires courage, this path I call the truth-telling path. But most people know it as the rock bottom path. It is here on this path that requires radical honesty. And people on this path have come to know that they cannot get anywhere in life. They cannot get anywhere unless they are willing to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The unvarnished, raw, and real truth, first and foremost to themselves, but also to those around them. It's also known as the rock bottom path because most people do not discover this path until they hit rock bottom, until they've tried everything else and nothing has worked. People in recovery, the 12-step program, know about this path. The 12 steps are written about this path, right? Most of us find this path too abrasive, too confronting. And we've convinced ourselves that there must be a gentler way, a more graceful way, a more comfortable way. In fact, if I could find something, a pill, a class, a book, something that would just do it for me, where do I sign up for that? So the mind is constantly seeking the easiest way, most comfortable way, the path of least resistance. But that becomes a divergent distraction called consumer spirituality. The second path is one that I call the affirmation path, or the steady drip path. It's the application of affirmations of who and what we really are. It's the divine truth, and it's getting in classes like many of you have taken, and it's learning the power of affirmations and meditation and spiritual practices, and it's applying a steady drip of truth to a cloudy glass of water, which is the path that we have walked, the result of the path that we have walked up till now. And it's dropping into that a steady drip of clear water, a steady drip of truth, one little drip at a time. And it's here on this path that we open up gently, right? Like a petal of a flower, like petals of a flower. We open up the petal, one petal of truth at a time. We open up the petal of our prosperity. And we open up the petal of our right to love and divine relationship, and we open up the petal to our creativity, and we open up the petal to our health and well-being, and we open up the petal to divine right action and healing, and we open up all the petals of our being very slowly, very gently, one class at a time, learning, studying, absorbing, practicing. You're probably familiar with this path. And this path, spiritual awakening, is exhaustive because it wants all of you. It begins as a flash of insight, but it continues as a steady drip of radical transformation. You see, this path is tempting, and most of us take it because it sounds better, less harsh than the other path, but it has a hidden clause in it. Did you know about the hidden clause? It has a hidden clause, and it's called the bifurcation clause. The bifurcation clause, right? The point of bifurcation, splitting, right? Which states that as you grow in gradual steps of deepening and revelation, there will come a point of friction in which you can no longer serve two masters, right? God and mammon, materialism and your spirituality. Again, not that those two things can't be in concert with each other, but you can't be divided. You have to be of one mind, integrated consciousness. And because this day of reckoning will come, then there will be a day of reckoning in this bifurcation point. And the day, by the way, has an asterisk next to it in the fine print of the clause. And day means simply a period of time. Could be a day, could be a week, could be a month, could be 10 years. But a moment of reckoning will happen in this bifurcation point, right? And this separation of God and mammon, again, I want to emphasize, it doesn't mean that you can't be wealthy. It doesn't mean that you can't be prosperous. In fact, I want to make very clear, being on the clear path, being about your higher unfoldment, you can't help but prosper in every way. You can't help but have all of your needs met. You can't help but live a life of beauty and fulfillment. So it's not a divorce from those things. It's an integration into how they really work and what the priority is, which is the growth of your highest self. And so the bifurcation is this. You must choose to either grow in the direction of your highest self or perish in the illusions of your comforts. Let me say that again. You must choose to grow in the direction of your highest self or perish in the illusions of your comforts. And if you choose to grow, then you must radically and completely confront every obstacle, every false belief that has fed the illusion. You must remove every layer until you get to that pea-sized rock at the bottom of the pile that no matter of life conditioning and piling on of comforts of life can cover up, because you'd be like the princess on the mattress and you'll still feel that kernel. False belief of separation from your good, of disconnection from source, whatever it is. You must uncover all the layers so that you get to that kernel, that pea. And face that, whatever that is for you, will be the painful part of the awakening. And the pain of that awakening will be in direct correspondence with the level of attachment that you have to all the layers of mattresses above it. Are you following what I'm saying? Ooh, Jesus, right? Choosing this path will eventually put you on a collision course with the very world that you have made and participated in, including your capacity to be on the gentle spiritual path. Oh my goodness. And so the revelation comes that everything must change. It's almost like you would be faced with a critical bifurcation point that would express itself like a pandemic, and you would try to convince yourself that you could just go back to normal, could just go back to work. Everybody could just go back without really facing the crux of the issue, without really providing adequate testing. Oh, I'm talking to somebody now. Without providing all the conditions of total societal transformation, we could all just go back to work and go back to church and go back to this and go back to that. By the way, the church has never been closed. Our building is closed, but we've never been closed. We're open right now. Always have been, always will be. But it's as if we must face that illusion and break down in that illusion that everything, in fact, must change. And so, while the revelation is unique to each of us, there are elements of it that are universal, and I want to speak to those for just a moment. First, what the revelation is not. The revelation is about greater love, greater wholeness, bringing forth your divine self. The revelation is about your connection to all things. The revelation is about how you can participate in bringing more justice and more peace to the planet. But I want to stop here for just a moment, if I can. I might get myself in a little bit of trouble, but that's all right. We'll break it down Wednesday night. You show up on Wednesday night, and we'll break this down a little bit further if need be. The revelation is not. Doing your practice in deepening your spiritual awareness and connection with all things does not lead, listen to me, it does not lead to a revelation that Big Pharma and Bill Gates and so and such are out to get you. The revelation of truth does not lead you to conspiracy theories. It does not lead you to spreading information about how many people the Clinton administration have murdered. It does not lead you to spreading information about how this or that is a way that those people over there, Big Pharma, et cetera, are trying to get you. If your revelation leads you to thinking that there is some bigger energy, a conspiracy working against you, then you haven't had a revelation. You've entered into a bigger illusion and distraction that is keeping you from your revelation. Spiritual insight doesn't lead you to pull back the curtain and say, aha, you see, I've got it now. I've got awakened consciousness, and all of those things over there are out to get us. I better spread the truth to all my friends online. That's not an awakening. That's a distraction and an illusion that is keeping you from your awakening. Come on, somebody. If your awakening doesn't lead you to more peace and more justice and more connection and more oneness, then it's not an awakening. It's a rabbit hole. Paul Tillich said it this way, many long before me. Paul Tillich said that we are caught between the awesome power to heal ourselves and the fear of being healed. We are caught between the awesome power to heal ourselves and the fear of being healed. For if we are healed, truly healed, in body and mind, of every disease, of every mental distraction, Paul Tillich, and this is my paraphrasing of Paul Tillich, but it's in a powerful book of sermons called The New Being. He says that if we're healed of all of these things, if we journey towards the Christ, if we heal our body and then heal our mind of all mental disease, then the only thing that is left is for the seeker to reveal the Christ. And most of us are scared of what it might be to actually embody the wholeness of the Christ. So we keep ourselves distracted. We keep ourselves in mental disease, even though our body might be well. We keep ourselves distracted in conspiracy theories. We keep ourselves distracted in this or that so that we don't have to keep journeying towards our wholeness. Because if it's somebody else's fault and if they're really out to get us, and then we can just occupy the airwaves with all of that stuff and think that we're right and we got to get everybody else to think like we do. Did you know that your money says da-da-da, and what that really means is blah, blah, blah? It's a distraction from revealing the wholeness that is within you. Take a breath. Here's what I want you to know. Everything is waiting for you. A life of wholeness, a life of peace, a life of love, a life of joy, divine right action in every area of your life, prosperity overflowing, absolute magnificence of the wholeness of God is waiting for you. Stop being distracted by thinking something out there is working against you. Heal whatever you need to heal on your path so that you can be a place of revelation. David White, a great poet, I love David White, has a poem called Everything is Waiting for You. It goes like this. Everything is waiting for you. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone. As if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you, at times, have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, the chorus, crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way that the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and to invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing, even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness, and seen the goodness in you at last. All of the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. There is an awakening in a path that we are on, awakening of wholeness that is waiting for us. And the path forward as humanity looks like this. Back to Andrew Harvey in his book, The Direct Path. He says that the rules for this new path that we are on are simple. Everything that divides one human being from another or from nature must now be revealed as the convenient social, cultural, and religious fiction that it is. Everything that divides one human being from another or from nature must now be revealed as the convenient social or cultural or religious fiction that it is. Everything that is in any way disempowers or depresses the divine power of consciousness innate in every human being must be unmasked for the lie of power that it is. Everything that provides authentic hope, help, and truth and wisdom from whatever area of human expertise and experience or pursuit must be embraced and fused with every other source of awareness and empowerment to provide the human race in this hour of danger and need the resources of an integral wisdom. Wisdom that unites the highest mystical understandings of the transcendent with the highest scientific, political, technological, economic, sociological, and psychological knowledge of how to shape the immanent and mirror and enshrine the ideas of equality, justice, and compassion on every level. This revelation is characterized by radical love and inclusivity, justice and mercy. Some call it the kingdom of God. Some call it a world that works for everyone. But whatever you call it, it works for everyone. It includes everyone. Everyone is safe and saved and included and a part of the family. And so I ask us, what is standing in the way of making that path clear for humanity? Our comfort, our will to do the work. I don't know what else it would be. Fear of embodying and revealing the Christ. My friends, your purpose is bigger than your comfort zone. Our purpose is bigger than our comfort zone. We are here to do something magnificent, which is to reveal heaven on earth. Once one commits, then providence moves too. And I'll close with this. Holmes says that we have direct access to an intelligence that can guide us, a life force and energy and spiritual something that can heal us, and a law of mind that we can use. He says that there is a real you that lives inside of a real God and that the two are one. To know this is to know and understand the secret of life. To realize this is to understand your relationship with the divine. To realize that the law of God is written in your own mind is to make available to you a power which can meet every need. So I simply invite you to take a breath right now. As we move into prayer, I know the practitioners, wherever they are joining me in consciousness. And I invite you to pray on behalf of our human family, to pray on behalf of our essential workers in the grocery stores and driving the buses and keeping the essential stores open and the traffic moving and the nurses and first responders to the police departments and to every aspect of our society that has put themselves at risk so that we might be able to go to the grocery store and get food and stay at home and work from home and take a walk in the park. I ask us to breathe into an awareness that there is an essential path that humanity is on. We have taken the path of comfort, we've taken the path of gradual revelation, but we have come now to the point of awakening, to the day of reckoning, to that bifurcation point, which those who have taken the path of truth and the path of rock bottom awakening have always known. We must begin to tell the truth to ourselves and to each other. That truth begins with an awareness that we are one with a divine unlimited power, which can, when unleashed through us and as us, release an atmosphere of healing into the world. It can release unlimited creativity to solve every problem. It can release unlimited compassion to heal every need. It can release unlimited love to lift up every condition in the world. It is the vibration and the frequency of a world that works for everyone. It is the frequency of your wholeness. And it is here and now, begging, waiting, desiring to come forward as you and as me. The path must be made clear through our willingness to say yes, and our courage and conviction to do the work to clear the path of any obstacle, any fear, any doubt. Knowing that as we do, all of our needs will be met and the world will be lifted up into a new vibration. This is what I know for sure. And this is what I'm truly grateful for. The Center for Spiritual Living movement, the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, as a beacon and place where this work gets done, where this awakening takes place, and that your support, your connection, your tie-in to our community makes a world of difference, because we are broadcasting this message that is liberating the planet and awakening one soul at a time into their magnificence. So for this and more in this day, for your participation in it, for the music and everything that unfolds to open our hearts, I give thanks. I release it and I simply allow it to be, saying, thank you, God. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is that time for our grateful giving. If you would like to make a contribution to this message, to this vibration, to this community being here, please do so through the phone number or the website link, whatever form you choose, please. This time is critical for all of us. I know we are all in some form of uncertainty, but we all have something that we can give, and we can demonstrate the law of prosperity by participating in the divine flow in our life, and in doing so, create an atmosphere of love and transformation. I know that that's what's happening, and I know that Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta has been called to this work for this time. We are transforming ourselves, the way our ministry looks, the way our ministry is structured, so that we can meet your needs and beyond and our growing audience. So please contribute all that you can in this moment, all that is yours to give. And as we do so, we'll say our affirmation together. Take a breath. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the gifts that are coming in.